All right, back on record, Casey versus Brandon Martin, IF 1506112. Record should reflect Mr. Martin, President of both counsel. People are present, all members of the jury, and all alternates are present. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a couple of defense witnesses who are on a very tight schedule, and they need to get their testimony taken care of today. So what we're going to do is we're going to defer the cross-examination of Mr. Martin until later this afternoon. Call a couple of witnesses out of order. So again, if you're taking notes, you may want to put a line where you would normally put the cross-examinations, then to finish their direct, and obviously having some additional witnesses. And then Mr. Martin will retake the witness stand this afternoon process. So with that said, next witness.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Valcru. Please raise your right hand, please.
He did some state evidence to give the matter shall be true, the whole truth.
I do.
Thank you.
And remove your mask. Press the microphone.
Please spell your first and your last name for the record.
First name, Vasilica, V as in Victor, A-S-I-L-I-C-A. Last name, Valcru, V-A-L-C-U.
Dr. Valcru, have you testified before?
Yes, I did.
All right. So you can proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Could you tell the jury what is it that you do for a living?
I'm a psychiatrist.
Okay. And how is it that you became a psychiatrist? What type of education, training, and experience do you have to get you to today?
I came from Romania. I finished high school 12 years. I went to medical school 6 years there. After that, I did a residency in family practice for 3 years. After that, I did 4 years residency in psychiatry back there. And then I came to the United States. I did a 4 years residency training here in LAC, USC.
Okay. So how is it that if you go to school in Romania and you do your training in Romania, how is it that you can come to California and be licensed? What do you have to do?
It was hard. I had to learn everything that medical students here are learning in 4 years of medical school to pass the board exams and to get my license.
Okay. So are you a physician licensed to practice in California?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a physician licensed to practice in California?
I started the residency program in 1998. 2 years later, I passed my board exams and I got licensed in the year 2000.
Okay. And you told us that you practice as a psychiatrist for a living. We've also heard the term psychologist. Would you explain to the jury the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
A psychologist is doing psychotherapy, so just talk. And the psychiatrist is an MD, a medical doctor that is doing treatment, medication treatment.
Okay. So a psychiatrist has a medical degree, correct?
Correct.
And then they have a residency in psychiatry, correct?
Yes.
Much like a surgeon has a medical degree and then she gets a residency in surgery.
The same.
Okay. Safe for me to say that both psychologists and psychiatrists treat or at least attempt to diagnose mental issues, but the psychiatrist handles the more serious issues. Is that accurate?
No, it's not. They evaluate patients with mental illness and they treat them in different ways.
Okay.
Psychologists through psychotherapy, psychiatrists to medication.
Okay.
But it's not that the severity of the cases are different. It's
Just
different.
Different forms of treatment.
Yes.
In your experience, did you ever work for the county of Riverside?
I did.
In what capacity?
That was my first job as a psychiatrist. I worked ITF, ETS. I worked the Moreno Valley Councils, starting with 2002 to 2004 or 5.
Okay. So did you work in the ETS facility here in Riverside?
Yes.
And where was that?
Where?
Yes.
It's behind the law store, you know. The old hospital, one-floor hospital behind the Lowe's store.
Lowe's.
That was then.
Okay. All right, okay. And what did you do at ETS?
ETS evaluating patients that came from the door and starting them on treatment, admitted them or releasing them.
And would you just explain to us what exactly is ETS? What is it?
It's like emergency facility. It's emergency room.
Okay. We've heard people testify in this proceeding about someone getting dropped off to an ETS facility for a 5150 evaluation. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes,
Have you
and
ever
that's what we do, 5150.
Okay, so what do you undertake when you do a 5150 evaluation at an ETS facility?
So there are three criteria to place a patient on a 5150 is danger to others, danger to self, and gravely disabled. And we evaluate for the criteria for each of those. If the patient meets criteria, then he is admitted in the hospital.
And I assume you're familiar with the law, Welfare and Institution Code Section 5150, correct?
Yes.
And so what does that law allow you to do in terms of how long can you keep somebody?
The patient, as I remember, I might not be correct here, they were kept in the emergency room for 24 hours sometimes. Okay. And reevaluated within 24 hours to see if the patient met the criteria for a 5150 to be transferred into the psychiatric hospital, or the patient can be safely released to the streets or to the family after 24 hours.
And if you were the attending psychiatrist on duty, would that be one of your jobs to determine whether somebody should be admitted or discharged?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about what were you doing? What do you do today? Who do you work for today?
I work for the Sheriff Department in LA County for Twin Towers.
Okay. And what do you do there at Twin Towers?
A psychiatrist in the jail.
So you attend to inmates that are in custody there in Twin Towers?
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
Almost 5 years.
Okay. Back in 2013, what did you do for a living?
2013, I work for San Bernardino County Jail in Rancho Cucamonga, West Valley, and I had part-time private practice.
Okay, so by part-time private practice, I have a picture of you with an office where people would come and see you, and you would work on them. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, basically your own business?
Yes.
All right. And in that capacity, do you recall treating somebody by the name of Brandon Martin?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have, I understand you made notes about your treatment with Mr. Martin, correct?
Correct.
Do you physically have those in front of you there?
No, I don't.
I would have to give them to her before can I approach
I think I have.
You do have them?
Yes.
I provided. Oh, you did? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Beecham. All right. Great. Thank you. Do you recall what date it was that you first saw Brandon? And if you don't remember...
I don't, but can I refer to...
Yeah, this is what we'll do. The procedure is if you don't remember, say, I don't remember, I need to check my notes, and then you can check your notes, okay?
I don't remember, I need to check my notes.
There you go. Thanks.
It was January 12, 2013.
Okay. And when you saw him that day, was he by himself or was he with family members?
He was with his mother, Melody.
Okay. And did you also speak with his father that day? And I see you're checking your notes on that, correct?
You know, I've seen his father once at a visit. I don't remember if it was the first visit or second or third. I met him once.
Okay. Show you this note, and you can find this note, those ones. See the screen in front of you right there?
Yes.
You find the note like that?
13.
There's a new report there.
Okay. Yes, I found it.
Okay. Does that refresh your memory as to whether you talked to Dad that day?
Oh, yes, the father was there. Yes, father said some things. Yes.
Now, is it standard practice when you see a patient that if family members come along, you want to speak with them as well?
Yes.
How come?
I don't understand. To get more information about a patient, definitely, especially if the patient is not cooperative, the information, the bulk of information is getting from the family members.
Okay. So usually, what do you do first? Do you talk to the patient first and then family members, or do you talk to all of them together? How does it work?
All of the above.
Okay. So in this instance, did you talk to Brandon that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what did he present? What did he tell you?
Well, how he presented, he was guarded, wearing sunglasses in the office, reluctant to answer questions, so not cooperative,
Okay,
and paranoid.
Reluctant to answer questions, you said?
Yes.
Not cooperative, you said?
Not cooperative.
Okay. Did he have any complaints about his mental well-being?
From this visit, I don't see that he had any complaints. He signed the consent form for the medication.
Okay, what about his father? Did his father indicate anything to you?
Yes,
that you noted?
the father said,
Objection, hearsay.
it's written in the note.
Well, I'd like to discuss that with you.
All right, we'll go back on record. All parties are present, all jurors and alternates are present. Yes.
When you finished speaking with the father and the mother and Brandon, did you reach a diagnosis back in January of 2013?
Yes, I did, and the diagnosis was schizophrenia paranoid type.
Okay, but let's slow that down. Your diagnosis was schizophrenia, paranoia.
Paranoid type of
Thank you,
schizophrenia.
paranoid type, okay. Explain to the jury, what does that mean?
Schizophrenia is a major mental illness and has different forms. And the paranoid type means that paranoia is prevalent. Paranoia means that the patient is suspicious, guarded, not trustful of people, watching his back, accusing people right and left that they are plotting against him, trying to hurt him, poison him. That means paranoia.
Okay. And based on that diagnosis, did you prescribe any medications?
I did.
What medication did you prescribe?
Abilify, 5 milligrams in the morning.
Can you spell that?
Abilify is A-B-I-L-I-F-I. F-Y, I'm sorry.
Abilify, 5 milligrams in the morning. And
Yes.
what does Abilify do?
Abilify is an antipsychotic. It's a medication that treats psychosis, which means hallucinations and paranoia.
Okay.
And disorganized thinking, they are different symptoms of psychosis that can be treated with this medication.
You had a series of there's a form here. I'm going to show this to you on the screen. Tell me if you can find that in your notes that are in front of you. Form appeared
Yes,
You're familiar with that form?
yes.
What is this form?
It's part of the mental status exam of the evaluation of the patient.
Okay. And how do you?
Your objection, I'd request that not be shown on the overhead.
Right, can you just give her a page number?
I got
It
it,
can be on-
page number
You
5.
can still use the Elmo, and she can look at the monitor, but
Oh,
It's number 5.
Thank you. And you've checked a bunch of boxes here. What causes you to check the boxes? Is this your evaluation? Do you get this from the patient? How do you do this?
It's part of what I see
Okay.
in the patient behaving during the evaluation.
All right. And under attitude, you check the boxes guarded and suspicious, correct?
Yes.
Motor activity, you check the box excess activity. What does that mean?
He was restless, not sitting still in the chair.
All right. When we talk about affect, what are we talking about?
How he is manifesting his mood, what he feels inside, and that was inappropriate. It was very labile. It means that changed very swiftly from being constricted like a poker face to being expansive, like showing a lot of his affect. That is inappropriate. A normal person wouldn't do that.
You noted that the speech was rapid and loud and excessive, correct?
Yes.
You also noted that the thought processes were, was that
Flight.
flight of ideas? What does that mean, a flight of ideas?
It means that he is jumping from one topic to another. He cannot focus on just one trail of thoughts.
Okay. Did you also submit some tests to gauge memory? Because you said memory was impaired.
I gave him the 3 objects at 5 minutes, 3 names of objects, and after that, asked him to recall 5 minutes later.
So
And he remembered just one of the 3.
okay. And then on the next page, on page 6, you said that he had difficulty. In fact, he couldn't count down from 100 to 0 by 7s. Why is that important?
It's a matter of concentration.
So among all these things were the reasons why you diagnosed Brandon as paranoid schizophrenic?
All these together.
Okay. You next saw Brandon on February 23rd of 2013, is that correct?
I'm not sure. February 23rd.
2013.
Yeah, I have a visit on that day.
Okay. And how did Brandon present to you on that day?
This time, these are his words. He feels better, but not convinced that he needs to continue the medications.
Okay.
And then the parents were worried that he will go to Florida to play baseball until September. So that was February. So until September, he will be there. And they were afraid that he will not continue the medication there.
So Brandon felt better by taking the medication, but he also said to you he doesn't feel like he needs to continue taking it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that common among patients?
When a patient has paranoia, it's very common that he's not willing to take medication or he will find any escape from the medication. And yeah, I'm feeling better. I don't need this medication anymore. It's like thinking that mental illness is like a cold and goes away in a few days or a few weeks. It's a lack of insight into mental illness, and a lot of people, not necessarily schizophrenic, a lot of young people have that.
You next saw Brandon, I guess it was about a year later, on February 8th of 2014. Is that right?
I don't have that. February 8th, 14.
Right. I could approach in hands. Thank you.
Oh, I got it, February 8, 2014.
Thank you. All right, good. So is that correct? Did you next see him on February 8th, 2014?
I'm sorry.
Is that correct? You next saw him on February 8th, 2014?
That's correct.
And was your diagnosis the same, still paranoid schizophrenia?
Yes, it was.
Next to severity, you've written high. What does that mean?
It means that he had symptoms, anger and outbursts and paranoia that could have been sign of a severe mental illness at that point.
And what is it that he told you that led you to believe that?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. What he told me?
Yes, what did Brandon tell you how he was feeling?
Well, during the visit, he was hyperverbal, he was angry, he was disorganized, he was labile. And the fact that he was sent home from the camp, from the training in Florida for angry and belligerent behavior, that was another symptom, another sign.
Okay, you put in the word quotes, you put unhinged in the word in quotes. Do you see that in the upper right-hand corner there in your notes?
Yes, I see it, and probably came from the mother.
Okay. Was it still your desire that he take the Abilify?
Yes, I put here in the plan for the visit, restart Abilify and psychotherapy.
Okay. To your knowledge, had he been taking the Abilify prior to the February 2014 appointment?
I have no knowledge about that.
Okay. Down in the lower left, under risk level, you write high. Do you see that?
Yes.
What does that mean, risk level high?
Well, a situation can escalate when it's a psychotic patient that is not treated.
Okay. And let's talk about the paranoia and the schizophrenia. Is that the type of thing that is constant in a person, or does that have mood swings, up and downs?
It has ups and downs.
Okay, and are they regular up and downs, like regular time intervals, or are they erratic, or?
They are erratic, cannot be predicted.
The next time you saw Brandon, I believe, was on October 11, 2014, is that correct?
October 11. October 11.
2014, yeah.
No, I don't have that visit. October 11, 2014, yes, and after that, December, yes.
Thank you, yes. What did Brandon relate to you that day?
He came with mother. He said, I'm okay. Mother put the condition that her son will get treatment for anger outbursts. He was eliminated from the baseball camp in March because he got into a fight and fractured a finger, so he couldn't play.
Under the phrase severity, once again in the upper right-hand corner, you said high, correct?
Yes.
So that hadn't changed since the last visit?
Yes.
Under risk level, you also said high, correct?
Yes.
And what does that mean, risk level?
The risk that he can deteriorate further and become dangerous for himself or others.
Okay. Under the diagnosis, under comment, you put unstable. Do you see that?
Diagnosis. Yes.
What did you mean when you wrote unstable?
He was under no treatment. His behavior was violent, proven by the episode he had in the campus where actually he was terminated. And Yeah, the anger outbursts were still there.
Okay. And then you last saw Brandon on December 20th of 2014, is that correct?
Correct.
And what did Brandon tell you that day?
You and my mother are trying to dope me up, so I will not play baseball again. I don't need to be here.
So he's basically accusing you and his mom of trying to medicate him so he can't play baseball again, is that correct?
Correct.
That phrase that you wrote there, is that fall in line with your diagnosis of paranoia and schizophrenia?
Yes, he was clearly paranoid even against me, that I'm trying to hurt him, not to help him.
And again, you put the severity level at high, correct?
Yes,
The risk level at high, correct?
yes,
You also said that the attention and the judgment and the insight were all 4. Is that
yes,
right?
correct.
Is it unusual for a patient with Brandon's symptoms to attempt to convince themselves that there's nothing wrong with them?
He was from the beginning convinced himself that he has nothing wrong with him,
Okay.
and just the others are trying to hurt him. And
And is that common in this type of diagnosis?
it is.
How come?
That's part of the paranoia. You know, everybody's against you. It's nothing wrong with me. It's just on the other side, it's something wrong with them because they are trying to hurt me. And usually people that are very young, they don't accept that they have a mental illness. They need many years of treatment and lots of psychiatric hospitalizations finally to sink in that they have a mental illness and they have to treat.
And is it unusual that to diagnose this type of an issue of paranoid schizophrenia in somebody 19, 20, 21 years old, is that unusual or is that common?
It's very common. It's a new onset schizophrenia that has a very high frequency at that age, in this age group.
Okay, so in other words, if somebody's going to develop these type of symptoms, you wouldn't be surprised to expect to see them around age 19, 20, 21?
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am, that's all.
Each of you wish to start?
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so you first saw Brandon Martin in January 12th, 2013. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so look, I want to talk more about that. What was on the first page there, I'm sorry, the second page, what was the reason for the visit?
No, not thinking clearly, no focus, words, attention span, trouble sleeping.
Okay, so there was no indication of hallucinations or delusions by anybody, is that correct?
This was written by either Martin or the mother, and they are not professional. They are not psychiatrists.
Okay. So on that visit, he was there with his parents, correct?
Yes,
Okay. He was present. He complained of having headaches, is that correct? And sweats under symptoms?
yes.
Okay. Basically, any other symptoms, there were no other sleep, symptoms other than loss of sleep. Is that correct?
That's in the symptom,
Oh,
on the symptoms.
okay. All right, and then on to page 3, going on to, do you see health habits there on the right side of the page?
I'm sorry?
The health habits on the right side of the page?
Yes.
So apparently he drinks coffee, correct?
Yes, these pages were written by the mother,
Okay.
not by me. I don't have any input into these pages.
Okay, that's fine. And So what I'm trying to do is build a basis for your understanding
Okay.
on that day. So your understanding was that he drank coffee, smoked cigarettes,
Yes.
and smoked marijuana. Is that correct?
Question mark.
Question mark. That's on there, but that's
Yeah.
kind of
It's
a
a
flag
hint.
for you. Marijuana is kind of is something that you consider though when making your diagnosis.
Yes.
All right. Now, I'm not sure why these pages are kind of out of order, so I think that explains why we're having a hard time finding certain things. But if you go back, let's start with, do you see towards the back where it has, the pages are actually numbered 1 through 5?
Okay.
Actually, it's 2 through 5.
Yes.
Okay. So the one right before 2, it's not numbered, but that's the date of January 12th, 2013.
I'm sorry?
January 12th, 2013.
Yes, I found it.
Okay. And on that day, again, he was there with his parents. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
All right. Now we go to the second page.
Yes.
There was no relevant psychiatric history. Is that right?
Right.
Going on to the third page. All right. On the third page, let's go over depression. There's no indication that he had a depressed mood.
None.
Okay. Anhedonia, what's that?
I'm sorry?
The second word under depressed mood?
Anhedonia? Anhedonia?
Yes, I need to spell it for the court reporter. Anhedonia. What is that?
Well, it's a less degree of being depressed, like sad sometimes.
Okay.
From a depression mood to anhedonia. Anhedonia is a lighter form of depression.
No indication of that.
No.
Weight gain or weight loss, no indication of that, correct?
No.
No indication of insomnia?
No.
No indication of agitation or retardation. Retardation, I think, is now called...
Slowing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No indication of that.
No.
Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, no indication of that.
No.
Concentration deficits or indecisiveness, no indication of that.
No.
Recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal ideation or attempts, no
None.
indication of that. Hopelessness, no indication of that. Let's go over to mania. There's no indication of any duration of symptoms of mania, correct?
Yes.
No inflated self-esteem, correct?
Correct.
Decreased need for sleep,
Correct.
none of that. Talkativeness or pressured speech, nothing there, correct?
Correct.
Increased pleasure seeking, nothing there.
Right.
Flight of ideas or racing thoughts, nothing there.
No.
Okay. Distractibility, no.
No.
Increased goal-directed activities or agitation, nothing.
Nothing.
Pleasure seeking and risk of painful consequences, nothing.
Nothing.
No history of any prior episodes.
I'm sorry?
No history of any prior episodes. Right below
Correct.
that.
Correct.
No complaint of generalized anxiety syndrome,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
There was no indication that he had a difficulty in control of worry with 3 or more of restlessness or feeling keyed up, correct?
Correct.
Easily fatigued, correct?
Correct.
Concentration problems,
Correct.
irritability,
Correct.
nothing there. Muscle tension, no.
No.
Why is that? Why are all these relevant for you as a practitioner?
You know, I understand where you are trying to go, and the fact that he was having lack of concentration and attention and irritability, and here under mania, talkativeness or pressure speech and flight of ideas. This is like a picture of that symptom, mania, that has to have the elements together. If you just pick one here, one here, one here, it doesn't mean that he had that mania or that generalized anxiety syndrome. The same symptoms, if you pick one of each and you put them in another total, might give you the picture of schizophrenia with a lot of other symptoms underneath.
All right. So on this page, there is affective syndrome, correct?
Is what? I'm sorry?
Affective syndrome.
Yes.
All right. And under affective syndrome, there's depression and mania, correct?
Yes.
And he didn't exhibit any of those symptoms under those two categories.
Correct.
So he didn't exhibit any symptoms of affective syndrome.
Correct.
All right. Now we're going to anxiety syndromes, okay? And under anxiety syndromes, there's generalized anxiety syndrome, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then there's another category called panic syndrome.
Correct.
Right? And each one of those has all sorts of different symptoms associated for those syndromes.
Correct.
All right. And then there's another category called PTSD or acute stress syndrome. Is that right?
Yes.
And then also there's, I don't know if there's subcategories or just minor categories, but there is the obsessive compulsive syndrome. Let me read this. Is that
somatoform syndrome?
I'll spell that, S-O-M.
Pain syndrome. These are under the big umbrella of anxiety syndromes.
Okay. I need to spell somatoform syndrome, S-O-M-A-T-O-F-O-R-M syndrome, and then pain syndrome. Okay. So there are, I don't know, 20 to 30 different symptoms associated for all of anxiety syndromes.
Yes.
Do you agree? And under all of the general anxiety syndromes, I'm not going to go over all of them. Not one of them are exhibited, correct?
Correct.
Under panic syndrome, there's at least around a dozen there. Would you agree? Not one symptom exhibited.
No.
All right. Phobic syndrome. I think we forgot about that one, but that has about half a dozen or so, correct?
Correct. None of them.
And there's not one symptom in that category exhibited.
None.
Then we go to PTSD or acute stress syndrome. Again, another half dozen or more.
None
symptoms.
there either.
Nothing there. Okay. Obsessive compulsive syndrome, nothing there.
No.
Somatoform syndrome, nothing there.
No.
And pain syndrome, nothing there.
No.
Okay.
Sure, Greg. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our lunch recess at this time. Remind all of you not to discuss facts of this case amongst yourselves or with anyone under the trial in the former expressing needs to have heard all the evidence. So you all be back.